Hi, I'm Marie Strelecki, real estate agent with Caldwell Banker Residential Brokerage in Tenafly, and you may recognize this lady sitting next to me, Melissa Suarez,
Hello.
a real estate attorney. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
So you may recognize her because Melissa recorded a video a couple of months ago where she was talking about the benefits of using a real estate attorney for your real estate transaction versus just using any attorney. But we just happened to be having a conversation the other day, and it just happened to be around the time where the video was posted where we were talking about cyber fraud and all of the scam emails that are going around to wire transfer money. So Melissa was kind enough to talk about what she's experiencing in her firm and just to kind of just put a little more attention to it because it's a really important topic, especially if you're involved in a real estate transaction.
Absolutely. Things like this, you think that it's always going to happen somewhere else or to someone else, and you don't realize it until it happens to someone you know. And indeed, it's happened to a couple of real estate attorneys that I work with, and it's even happened to some of the major title companies that we work with. And essentially what we're referring to is as a buyer of a transaction, and typically those are the ones who are being targeted by these emails. A buyer to a transaction would have to bring to closing funds to complete the purchase. And generally speaking, we typically ask them to bring a cashier's check. And the way the fraud is occurring, whether it's an attorney or the title company, but one of the buyer's representatives are having their emails hacked. So they're getting some spyware installed on their systems that they obviously aren't aware of. And these perpetrators are genuinely scanning these emails, and when they see that they have a buyer coming up, that they told the buyer they needed to bring a cashier's check for X dollars, the perpetrator is actually sending an email to that buyer that looks like it came from the attorney or it looks like it came from the title company, and it's telling them, forget our conversation, there's been a change of plans, I need you instead to wire the money. Please use these wire instructions. And it's easy to fall for because the perpetrator's email is intended to look like it came from the attorney or look like it came from the title company. And Monica had mentioned in that prior video, if you hover over the name, that's where you'll see the email address where it came from, and typically the domain name is what's different, whether it's different by a letter, or it might say, attorney Adam at outlook.com or something like that. And unfortunately, the buyers are receiving the emails and sending the monies via wire to those instructions without verifying who it came from. And as we know, unfortunately, once you send a wire out, you can't bring it back.
There's been very few rare cases where they caught it just in time, but that does not happen often.
Right, and typically when they've caught it is if I go to, and some people aren't even savvy enough to know the process for initiating a wire. Not every person has even sent a wire, right? So when you're going to send a wire, you go to the bank and you'll sit down with one of the customer service representatives, you'll hand them the wire instructions, and you'll say, please wire from my account X dollars, and they'll send it out. Now, when you leave the bank, that person sitting at the desk initiated the wire, but it doesn't mean it moved yet.
Correct.
So maybe within a half hour, 45 minutes, if you realize the mistake, or if they were out to lunch and they just hadn't processed it yet, then you can catch it. But all in all, once the wire is sent, the feds upload the Federal Reserve every 30 minutes. So once it's out, you can't pull it back, and it's typically in 30-minute intervals.
Yeah, and that window of opportunity, like she just said, you could be out to lunch, you could just be on an extended phone call, and that's why we're talking about this even more, because you may not even realize it. You just...
Well, and the day of a closing is a rather hectic one. So, typically a buyer will go to the bank to either get their cashier's check or to send that wire. And then they'll go do a walkthrough before they're even in contact with the attorney or the title company again. So it's very easy for a couple of hours to lapse before you realize that a mistake has occurred.
Melissa, what really caught my attention when we were having the conversation when you were at our office in Tenafly recently was that you had said that your own office has received some of these emails where they're trying to spoof information.
Absolutely. And you know what, it kind of occurred, I kept thinking to myself as you'd hear these stories, how does that happen, right? How does someone know, who, the attorney, who am I to, why would I assume that someone is monitoring my emails? How could something like this happen? And then I did start receiving certain emails that would have a hyperlink to an attachment instead of having a PDF of an attachment.
Right.
And the emails were not grammatically correct, which caught my eye, and the email sender looked like it was coming from a title company, but the body of the email said, attached is a new contract, we're looking forward to starting attorney review as quickly as possible. And someone who's not paying attention could try to hit the link because they're seeing that it's a new contract, and it could happen to any attorney or title company that would do that. But it just didn't make sense to me. Why would a title company be sending me a contract? And moreover, I didn't recognize that title company to be one that we worked with, so we deleted it. But you know, this summer was a busy time, and I could say easily we probably received 2 or 3 of those emails a month. And I would imagine these perpetrators are targeting attorneys and title companies that do a lot of real estate, so that they can sneak in and just monitor the emails and try to commit the same fraud.
Right, and as mentioned in the other video that we recorded, not Melissa and I, but the other video that was recorded talking about cyber fraud, they're also trying to spoof the real estate agent. And again, it's worth repeating, we will never ask you for money. We will never ask you to wire money. We don't participate in that part of the transaction. So, you know, it's happening. So this is really important that we keep talking about it so that you're aware of it, especially if you're in the middle of a real estate transaction or you're about to enter into a real estate transaction.
Yes, and in order to try and counteract the fraud, a lot of title companies and most attorneys now won't ask for the wire. They will ask for certified funds only, because we could try to at least eliminate as much of the risk as possible. On rare occasions, you may still require a wire. For example, if someone is buying a bank-owned property, bank-owned properties, those sellers require the deposits be wired to them within 2 days of the contracts being signed. There's nothing fraudulent about that. That's genuinely how the process goes. But like anything else, you want to receive the wire instructions and just call who you believe the sender to be, obviously not the phone number that's on the email,
right?
Because you'd just be calling the perpetrator, right? But if they're trying to be someone that you know, whether it's the attorney or the title company, call that person up and ask them, did you just send me the wire instructions? And that one phone call is really going to avoid a tragedy.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
As always, thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
So if you're looking for a fantastic real estate attorney, Melissa Suarez is here with offices in Ridgewood and Englewood Cliffs.
Yes.
So do you want to give your web address or phone numbers?
Oh, sure. You could always find more information about the firm at msuarezlaw.com, or you can call me at the office at 201-569-1166. I do have a staff of a few lovely ladies, and any one of us is always welcome to help you out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.